We got Judy Ramos.
Nishish Hayadi, Dakutu, Hatusa, Gekna, Ayakhat, Kashkwan, Ganekwan, Ayakhat, Tiskohit. Flutnakati Yati Ayakhat. Equidi, Dachana Ayakhat, Nishish Hayadi. This is a picture of my grandparents, Olaf and Susie Abraham, and I think you have to be a certain age to appreciate my grandparents because they were, my grandmother Susie was born in the Bering River area and raised in Katella, and my grandfather, he's was one of the last chiefs of the Tekwidi drum house lineage of the Yakutat area.
Can you speak a little?
And this is a picture of my grandfather's blanket from the Anklan River. Because his lineage is the drum house, they were the owners of the Anklan River people, and they're different than the other Tekwidi house people, which are the Bear House people. They're from the Sitek River and the Lost River lineage. Growing up, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, but I did not become fluent in the language because, as you know, young people know, both my parents were punished for speaking their language, so they did not teach us the language, so I'm learning it. But my son lives with my mother, so he's probably a lot more fluent than me because she speaks Tlingit to him. So this is a picture of my grandparents, and I have another picture here. This is my parents. My mother on the top, this is when she was getting her nursing degree. She went to Gallup. After graduating from SJ, she had to spend 5 years totally alone out of the state in the Gallup area, becoming a nurse and nursing on the Navajo reservation. And during that whole time, she never got home. TB was a bad epidemic during my grandmother's generation. They spent many years, her family spent many years in the TB hospital. After that, she came back and started nursing all over the state, Bethel, and I've got some cool pictures of her nursing in Bethel, and in the Anchorage Hospital, the old hospital, Monetchkum, where I was born, and in Yakutat. And then she went on to work for SJ and then the University of Alaska, and then we moved to Anchorage, and she started working for the University of Anchorage, which is the Anchorage Community College at that time, and started the Native Student Services Program and later the Alaska Native Studies Program. And currently she's on the chair of the Alaska Native Science Commission, which is a commission that's bridging Indigenous knowledge and scientists together. My father here is a hunter and fisherman. Also, he's active in the National Guard, Alaska Native Brotherhood, and most of them know him as a National Guard member. I don't remember 20 years. He's a retired veteran, retired from the Army. And he heads up the Mont-Saint-Elias dancers. He taught dances for about 30 years, and he's a Sea Alaska Heritage Scholar. So as she mentioned, I'm in the Indigenous Studies program, and this is some of us at the last retreat in Anchorage. So we're quite a wide variety of people in studies, and we each have our own unique research that we're doing. And it's really interesting to learn about what the other students are doing in their research program. I received a fellowship from the RAP program for my college, to be able to go to college and get my PhD. And this is kind of a competitive program. It's out of a national science program. It's called the IGRIT program. And the Alaska program is called the RAP program. It's $30,000 a year to cover my expenses and tuition, and I even got a computer. So I was very lucky and very happy to get it. Otherwise, you could not have afforded to go to college. but it's a very intensive program, very intensive program. So this is the program, it's the Resilience and Adaptation Program. It's an interdisciplinary training and education program, University of Alaska, focusing on sustainability in times of rapid change. The RAP program, as I call it, prepares scholars, policymakers, community leaders, and managers to address issues of sustainability in an integrated fashion. So what that means is, me as a social focused program, I have to integrate natural science into my research. And if you're a natural science person, you have to integrate social science to your program. And you have to do that in order to get accepted into the program. So as part of my program, I have to have a scientist on my committee. I have to integrate natural science into my PhD program, and I'm required to take some specialized classes. The first class was a global to local sustainability class, and the second was an integrated assessment class. I'm supposed to do an internship and attend special seminars where we have speakers, and we have to work together in the program. So this is a very intensive program. There are master's and PhD students in the program. So we're looking at sustainability, earth social, ecological systems at times of rapid change. So we focus on resilience, adaptation, vulnerability, and transformation. So it's underlining this global to local theme. So a lot of the talk is on ecosystems and making ecosystems resilient and adapting to change. So ecosystems, including the social part of ecosystems, and those are the kind of things that we talk about in the program. So surviving grad school. So I'm a non-traditional student. My kids are in high school. In college, and so I'm an older student, and so that has a lot of challenges. One of those picking a committee. So I picked a heavily social science committee, and then I was told, no, you have to have a scientist on there. So I have a scientist on my committee. Finding a place to live. So I did have to pack up everything I have in Yakutat and put it in storage and move and find an apartment and etc. And every summer I have to pack up everything in Fairbanks and move back to Yakutat. So constantly packing and moving every time. But I do want to be home every summer, put up my food, work with my community. So that's my, I love being home in the summer. So everything in Fairbanks gets put in storage. So my kids have been doing this and they're tired of moving me. So that's a challenge. Learning how to research, and I put at L, because at L, when you're spending tons of times of researching and you find a lot of this at L. And who's at L? But what it is you have a whole bunch of people that were put a paper together. They just put the first researcher's name first, and then everybody else is at L. Okay, it's at L. And you have to learn how to navigate Blackboard, which is the system, and EndNote. You say once you get into EndNote, you love EndNote because everything you find, your research gets put into EndNote, and that's a way of creating a database for all your research, so you can put it in your papers and things like that. So you have to learn how to navigate EndNote. So that's quite a challenge.
Electronic secretary.
Yeah. So research design, and I had to take these research design. What kind of research are you? Qualitative, quantitative, mixed methods? I don't know. So that's quite a challenge. I took a couple of research classes to try and figure out what kind of research am I doing and how to compose abstracts and things like that. So knowing what you can handle. And I think 1 week, that first semester, I was stupid and I took, 11 or 12 credits. And at 1 week, I counted 11,000 pages of reading I had to do that 1 week. And said, I'm not going to do this anymore. That's really stupid to take 11, 12 credits of graduate school. Surviving Fairbanks, minus 48, minus 50 below, that's a challenge. And presenting at conferences. So it's real important that as grad students that we present at conferences. And I was applying, you're constantly applying for travel grants so you can go to conferences because you need as grad student to present at conferences. So that's some of the things with grad school. So this research proposal that I'm part of, it is part of a National Science Foundation grant out of the Arctic Social Studies program. The first year they got funding through the EAGER grant. It was a small grant, and then it helped fuel the program so we could get this larger grant from the National Science Foundation. And one really important part of why it was funded is because it incorporated Arctic scholars, Native scholars, which is me, and Indigenous communities, which is Yakutat. And I looked at some of the reviews of the proposal, and I found it really, I was really happy when I read this. So this is one of the broader impacts of this grant is it contributed to the completeness of a PhD female scholar who is currently underrepresented in many Arctic studies. Because you find many of these Arctic studies is the traditional non-native white male. They have very few Indigenous scholars, and they have very few female scholars. So as an Indigenous female scholar, it was really a coup to this getting this proposal funded. So I think as other female scholars, you got to keep that in mind. You're very close to grants. So this is the research. So it's looking at rapid environmental change, adaptation to seal hunting, and the changing landscape. Environmental knowledge, which is encoded in traditional languages, place names, and stories, is rapidly being lost because we have 4 or 5 fluent language speakers in our community. Questions of human adaptation and resilience in the changing north, and the challenges of building currents between Indigenous and scientific knowledge systems. So that's a very big part, is that building this currents between Indigenous knowledge and scientific knowledge. So here's the researchers in the study. And if you look at this, you notice that they're all white male PhDs, except for me and my mother. So, you know, Dr. Aaron Crowell, he's the PI, he's the archaeologist. He's the one that wrote the grant so we can get it funded. And Dr. Dan Mann, he's doing the glaciology and geomorphic studies. This Michael Eckner, I don't know him, but I think next summer he's going to do the paleo-environmental work. And my mother and I are doing the language, oral history, Indigenous knowledge research there. So the first year was quite a chore because he had a small EAGER grant. So it was pretty much a family affair to do the research this first year. I'm listed as a senior researcher, but you know, all my duties was above and way above and beyond being just a simple researcher on there. My mother and I, you know, did the interviews. My father, besides just being one of the main knowledge bearers, he provided the boat, and my brother and him were running the boat, and my brother was the boatman. This last 2 summers, my son's been one of the filmmakers on there. But that first year, I was still a tribal employee, so it was, you donate I was donating all my hours and the tribal hours and donating the tribal truck. And I was, you know, we were trying to find places to stay for them. I'm the community facilitator, I'm the tribal liaison. I help provide housing and logistics and transportation to the research going on. But the bigger part is community accountability. And that's a really big part of that is, you know, you're out there, you're interviewing people in the community, and you're speaking on behalf of these outside researchers, so you have to be accountable as a community person for this research project. So you have to, we try to make awareness to these outside researchers. There's a community rhythm going on. People are hunting or fishing. You have to kind of schedule things around their schedule. You can't just expect them to be there when you want to be research on their time schedule. They have to work around their the community members' time schedule, and it's been quite a challenge working and educating outside researchers that you can't just set up an interview schedule and expect them to be there because they have to, you know, get their boat set up, they have to go fishing or things like that. There's other things going on in the community. So those are things, and the obligations as a community member that I have to do. Understanding local surroundings. For example, last summer, the researcher parked his boat in front of, way up in the glacier, and his boat flipped over because the ice and the tide came in and flipped his boat over. Like, he doesn't know anything about the local environment. And so my father and brother tried to educate them about danger zones, tides, and things like that. And it's very challenging to do that. So those are just some of the challenge of educating outsiders about some of the things in the community. So this is from the first summer from up at Herbert Glacier, and we did Dr. Steve Langdon. He's the one that got me involved. Filmed our seal hunt there. So this is Steve Langdon, my father, me, my brother, and then Dr. Crowell. So that was from the first summer. And then last summer, this is after they dig the first archaeological dig, we did a ceremony up there. My mother and us went up there and did the honor and the spirit ceremony. So we felt like the spirits were disturbed when they did the excavation up there. So we did a ceremony feeding the spirits up there, and also putting tobacco in the water for the glaciers and the spirits in the area. So that was something that we felt that had to be done. So this is something that we do as an Indigenous researcher, is remembering not to honor and respecting the spirits of that area up there, the people that used to live up there, people that might have died up there. That's the site of a battle site up there. So these are some things that we think of the spiritual dimensions that maybe you don't think of from a non-native research. You won't think of those kind of things. So we still have to honor the spirits of that area. So my son and my mother, me and my niece and my dad. So this is the environment there. It's the tide is coming in and out, and the glacier is advancing or retreating. It has closed off at this point many times in the past. It might close off again this point here. And so this is I don't know if you've heard about Tupper Glacier. When it does close it off, it does come up here and closes off of the fjord, and the back has backed up and flown over the end of the. So this is something that is very dangerous area, and this tide does move in and out quite a bit. So this is a very challenging area to work in. And this is where people did their traditional hunting, seal hunting in the past. So this is kind of a map of where we are. And so this is just kind of shows you that we are totally surrounded by mountains on this huge mountain ranges that covers this whole area, the glaciers and the Russell Fjord. So we're looking at this area here, which is the seal camps we've been investigating the last couple of years. And then this next one we'll be looking at some of the other sites down here. So these are all mountain ranges. So this is Hubbard Glacier, and that's Malaspina Glacier. So it's a very good area. But this shows the Hubbard Glacier at its maximum advance, and the red hair shows a lot of the old camps, the old camps, and the dating of these camps here. So a lot of the older sites are here, outside here. The dates of these camps are really the older ones here, the 1275 ones, 1218 ones are the older ones. And these camps are the newer ones up there. So as the Hubbard Glacier was retreating, so that when they were establishing all the seal camps as the glacier was receding. And this is something my father was talking about. This is the first thing when they started the excavations. The things that they found the most up there seems to be a lot of beads, a lot of trade beads. This is the 1800 picture of people harvesting. So at that time was a transition. They were still using the traditional shelters, and they're transitioning to the tents. during 1899, so the women are still using traditional hunting methods. And Harriman exhibition figured there were like 300 people or maybe 400 people that were harvesting seals during the sealing time at Hubbard Glacier during that time. And they're, you see the old canoe in the front and stretching the hides and the seal poke. So when they're excavating this, they found a lot of these old cartridges, rifle cartridges, and they're still finding the pieces of tent frames, a lot of beads, and a lot of, some trade materials. So it's kind of interesting to see what the results of this last summer when they excavated a couple of house kits from the area. The other thing that happened was there's a geological change, and a lot of these sites have been uplifted because of earthquakes. So the first summer when we were walking through the bush, we were trying to do a straight line trajectory to find these, and we were at the wrong level because of the uplifts, and so we were running through Devil's Club and running on top of Alder, and we were too high. So anyway, it was like, I don't want to do this anymore. We were covered by Devil's Club, and by the end of that one day, it was really tough. So this is the first summer we were doing that place names mapping the seal hunting sites, and this is documenting, and hopefully we'll get a documentary out of it. We're applying for funds that maybe a documentary will be made out of it. This shows the place names research. This is a real important part of the research is looking at the place names, looking at the Tlingit, Eyak, and Aleut place names. I did some little bit of preliminary look at where the place names are. So there is a definite relationship between the language and place names, with maybe a few Aleut names here, the Eyak names here, and then the Tlingit names through the whole area. So there's some preliminary research on placement of the language and the place names. Kind of interesting to look at. So it's very important to look at the place names, and they show environmental change. For example, one of the islands does call that place of lupin fields, and now it's all trees. So the time we came there, it was just lupin fields or strawberry fields, and now it's all trees. So that shows the environmental change. So this is his dad, and I don't know if I can get this played. And, but he's talking about the way they hunt. Anyway, he's just talking about when you're hunting, maybe you can say in here that you have to wait till the seal looks away from you to shoot it, because the arrow will come out of it as long as it will sink. So that's the way the hunters. So we documented a lot of this. We documented the terminology for the different kinds of ice out there, and document the current, knowledge about the current and the wind and those relationships here. So the traditional seal hunting canoe was adopted only for hunting in the seal. So on this end is the prow, which they used to as an icebreaker, and then when it was free water, they would flip it around. And they had special paddles that they used for hunting the ice. So this is called a gudia. It's the traditional Yakutat seal hunting canoe. And it's very special just for hunting in the ice. And he actually, I never heard of it, but he did sing me a song about the gudia, which I had never heard before. I think he'll sing it for me. This is Dad when he was young. Young, but this is some of the seal. I don't know, does this have a year? Do you know what year? No?
I'll tell you that I had a hard time getting on board, though.
So this is when he was talking to me about the currents in here. This is about 1800 something, but then at this time, they would wait for the ice, because a lot of other glaciers back here, they would wait for the current to come out, and it would create, open up a lead in the ice. And so the first time, this is the title was hunting along the edge. So as the current was coming out, they would open up this lead in the ice would open up to a pack of seals so they would be able to hunt it. So this is what I call hunting along the edge, and they have a special term for it. So this is in those days when he was growing up, they would have to paddle up here. It was his job to paddle in there, to sit on the small island to see how much ice was coming out of there, and see if they could be able to create enough of a lead in the ice so they would be able to hunt in the ice. So this is just a sketch he was working on for me. So that was real important. So this is the other one. More questions. How it was preserved and cooked. What its other uses for. And about seal oil was a trade item. And seal oil grease bowl. That's a very important trade item. There is a video you can look up, Glacier's Eternal Gift, and then I have a seal hunting video. Thank you.